Mostly, I wanted to make this about what's going to be good for you all. You're not running for governor, you not appreciate your vote. We got that out of the way. So, but we got to win. But right now, I just tell you that we just left our retreat. So, last 2 days, and then we came back to DC and flew back this morning. So just got on the ground about an hour ago. If the state police ask, it was 2 hours ago. So, I'll tell you, the president's talking fully infrastructure now. We're going to do something on immigration. I don't know what yet. That's going to happen. We're going to refund the government, and that whole shutdown stuff is going to continue because the Democrats just want it to be that way, and they got enough votes. We got one vote to spare in the Senate. We got 51. You got to have 51, so we can't lose anybody. And so that's how tight the margin is. I tell you, I've been shopping the idea of the refinery around the state, and you all know, and I've just been very transparent that we're making the offer to the Indian reservations because Trump was really excited about putting jobs in the places where some of the deepest poverty is. But now we're to the point we have not gotten any to leap, and we're to the point of making a choice. And I'm just here to ask if you all want to consider here. Don't y'all have that the big industrial park, something like 1,000 acres or something here?
That's in Milan, yes.
Yeah, I mean here.
Yeah.
Here is
area,
not,
right?
here is not Albuquerque or Gallup. Here is
Right.
kind of big here.
Grants, Milan, Santa Fe,
Yeah, the whole
our area.
Yeah. And if you do, then I've got a guy that does this for a living, and you can use him or not use him. But I would recommend that you find somebody to kind of head up the project. He has done worldwide stuff for the last 20 years, lived down in Las Cruces. Because I just think that we can get the permits done, and then you got to fight off the lawsuits. That's it. And if you're ready to go, then let's go. I mean, like.
And that's where we got the NGL spur out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like
I
that.
sit on that board, so I can put that in motion. I can get the right people on that.
Okay, so if you all want to do it, you don't have to commit today. You just have to shake your head yes, and we're going to start moving because I've been ready for about 5 years.
Okay.
But the Trump administration is really ready to go on anything. Infrastructure to them is far more than roads. It's building capacity. It's building jobs and capabilities. And one of the highest priorities he's putting is energy first, America energy first. We're importing raw gasoline, which is tremendously hard because we haven't built a refinery in about 40 years. And New Mexico now has probably, Exxon just told me about a week ago that worldwide, the properties in southeast New Mexico are the #1 properties. I'm just telling you that $50 billion they're going to put is going to be drilled a lot in New Mexico and right across the line in Texas. It's all one field. Chevron has got a huge project going. Oxy is, all of them are maybe even larger than the 50 billion. So let's use New Mexico oil to create New Mexico jobs, and that's the reason that I want the refinery. We ship our oil is just not oil, it's very high quality oil. Sometimes you can just capture the oil out of the wellhead and put it in the car and it'll burn. They used to give it to the roustabout's. Dad was kind of at the lowest end, and the guys that worked the field back in the 40s and 50s, they'd just give it to them. They called it drip gas because it'd drip into a 5-gallon can, then they'd pour it into 55-gallon drums out behind their house. And so, yeah, that was, they'd pull it in. You can smell that drip gas burning. But so we ship our really high quality oil and a lot of it down to Houston and make them one of the richest cities on earth. I'm ready to start making some jobs and prosperity here. So if y'all are interested, then I'll get, I'm even forgetting his name now, but I'll look his name up, and before I leave, I'll get that to you. Y'all can bring him in here. And then when the project actually kicks off, there's another guy that worked for Arco building refineries worldwide. He's from here in New Mexico originally too. He's retiring, and he said if we ever do, the one is in the process, his deal is to get it laid out. When one of the oil companies 15 years ago, every month or two, the pipeline across South America was getting blown up. And so they called this guy from Las Cruces, go down there and fix it. They built a whole new pipeline. He's the one that worked all the agreements with the Indian tribes, and it hasn't been blown up in the 8 or 9 years since then. And so he's the one that that I think would be the one for the permitting phase, and then the other one in the construction phase, just somebody that, for you all to have represent you.
So now, are the Zuni people looking at that refinery on the old Fort Wayne?
Yeah, I just can't get a commitment. I'm gonna go talk to them tomorrow, and I'm gonna make the same offer to them. If they'll put it in Fort Wingate, I'll consider that the area, and we'll probably do just one. I think there's nothing to keep us from doing two, because the pent-up demand would definitely say it, but let's start.
Well, you might want to also use it as a leverage tool to them, that if they don't want it, we're willing to go with it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's, and again, we might do two, because we haven't built one in so long, that all the refineries are kind of at capacity. And the nice thing is that the old refineries are all built to handle the heavy tar stuff we would bring in from Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. And our light sweet crude, it would be much cheaper, and we do state of the art. So that's what I'd really like to talk about. Then secondly, you know that we wrote into the bill, the Forest Service wrote into the bill with us about 2 months ago, the provisions to cut 150,000 acres in 3 different forests. And so finally, the Trump administration is breaking loose that, and so that's another opportunity that's here. I don't know if you're tracking that at all, but
It's, what you're telling me is contrary to what I'm being told by Forest Service and by Rob McGregor yesterday.
yeah.
The emphasis in projects is Arizona #1, Jemez #2, Zuni's #3, and they're saying that we are going to be able to get by on hazardous fuels money, but that comes in spurts, and the complaint is that we're charging too much to get the work done. But I haven't been able to get people to understand that when you're cutting a little tiny tree like this one, not a big tree, it's not worth anything.
It's, no, I understand,
It's pure service
and that's
work.
part of the
And-
discussion.
Yeah, and we cannot run with what they're
Right.
looking at doing. So we're looking at 60 or 70 jobs here. that
And I
fall
think
by the
that he's
wayside.
talking something different than I'm talking when he was talking to you yesterday, because we specifically wrote in 3 forests, the Lincoln, the Gila, and the Cibola, and each one at 150,000 acres. We're working with a couple of the environmental groups who now realize the destruction we're doing to our forests by burning them down, and that's maybe what he's talking about, and so.
Not according to Forest Service. The money's there. We've got, the CFLR will go through February of 19. There's some game and fish money. We can do another 800 acres or so. And then beyond that, there's 2,200 acres, but it's over on the McGaffey side, and the distance is a killer.
Yeah, that's completely different than what we had written
Yeah,
into the.
but the problem is that we need a 10-year guarantee of funds. in
Yes,
order to
no,
operate. You know that.
Yeah, I'm familiar, and that's the reason we're setting these big acreages up.
So if you do the oil thing, try to include the sawmill into it as something that they need to buy.
You know, and one of the main things about that sawmill, especially if we could expand it to the Mount Taylor side, if we catch fire this year, we're done.
Yeah.
We have gotten no moisture since October, and there's none in sight.
Yeah.
And if we catch fire, I mean, we're even looking at passing fire bans now in February. I took it off of the agenda for Monday night's meeting because I still want to wait a little bit further and see what we're going to get in March and April. But by the middle of March, if we ain't got no moisture, we're going to put in a fire ban here in town.
Yeah.
We don't have any choice.
Right, no, it's where it should be.
But also, Congressman, soon to be governor, something you could consider that I think has occurred in Arizona and other states where they do have forest restoration and fire problems is they eliminate sales tax on things like wood pellets and things that come from at-risk forests to encourage sales. And I'm whipping the hell out of everybody on price in Albuquerque on pellets. You buy pellets out of Arizona that are sold in Albuquerque for $5.80 a bag. You can go to Costco and buy ours for $4.29, and I'm still making money on it. I'm gonna bump my prices coming here because it's getting a little silly, but you could take that $4.29 and have no tax on it, and that would be really exciting to the people here and encourage more buying, et cetera.
Overall,
But on all products from forest restoration should be taxed.
yeah, just give me a list of those products, because that's what I make notes on here. I put into a work document.
Understood.
And I mean, every county we go to, we're doing these work plans for what we're gonna do here, not in big picture, but specific. So, the tax bill is gonna cause tremendous potential return of manufacturing. You remember when Apple in
Already got a raise
2012,
because of that
they
tax
told Obama that those manufacturing jobs are gone forever. Now then, when we pass the tax bill, 20,000 are coming back here. That's what's gonna happen, is that we cut in half the tax rate for our companies that are overseas, all the companies. And so, so now then Chrysler, I think it was Chrysler just announced that they're moving a plant from Mexico back to the US. Two more have announced the same thing, they're moving manufacturing in here. It's one thing to bring companies back from overseas, it's completely different to bring manufacturing jobs back. And then the second thing is that small businesses, you get 100% write-off of investment in the first year. I'm just telling you, that's gonna create a surge of demand for new equipment, new capabilities. And that's probably the biggest thing we did for small businesses across the country, is that we lowered their tax rate too. But the main thing is that write-off. So you want to buy a $250,000 saw or something, any kind of machine, you write it off instead of trying to pay taxes and write it off. So that, I think, is going to cause tremendous potential. And then the tax cut for workers. I don't know if you've seen your paycheck yet, but people are starting to stop me and saying, hey, one person told me the day before yesterday, I got $220 more in this paycheck than what I normally get because of the tax cut. So people are going to start seeing that money, they're going to start spending it locally. So the economy is going to get up and start moving. It is, I think that this is much bigger and better than the tax cut that Reagan gave. He had to
That was a pretty good one, though.
Yeah.
I was in the Marine Corps then, I got a $500 rebate check after I got my tax return, so that was a pretty good one.
There we go.
My wife has seen a $100 increase in her check, she's a school teacher. So that was nice. I mean,
She get 2 checks a month?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
it's gonna be $200 a month.
I got a raise out at the mine, and they told us flat out it was due to the tax cuts.
Right.
I haven't seen my checks from the mine yet to see what I'm gonna get with the less deductible from the federal government yet. But I know where I work, they're moving a lot of things now, okay?
I don't know, man. Nancy Pelosi said that it was crumbs.
Well, I'm telling you, $200 a month to my family, that's a lot of money, guys, okay? That's a lot of money, guys. Yeah, we'll take it.
I noticed you're not writing any $200 checks then, you know, it's that small, we'll just give a couple of crumbs personally to us and let's see.
Before we get too far away from the Forest Service, you know, you know as well as anyone how the battle that we have
With the
continually with the
wildernesses.
Forest Service on our area. You know, I was kind of excited to hear in the State of the Union that all projects would have a 2-year limit, with possibly even a 1-year limit on construction. So I would like that somewhere along the way to be defined a little clearer on, you know, NEPA and environmental impact studies. Because, you know, our Zuni Mountain Trail system literally took eternity to get done.
25 years.
You know,
To get to where we can get
a
a
long
trail done.
time. So if we could get that to where it would be like a year or 2 years, you know, our 10-year Forest Service plan, we've been in 5 years in planning for that plan. And we're still, and now they want another series of steering committee meetings, and we're starting all over again.
And
So I'm really alarmed in that area that I think they're just trying to outweigh.
They're outweighing us, those of us that are in
Yeah,
office, is
yeah.
what they're trying to do.
Yes.
They're trying to outweigh us. That's why they make it 10 years, because most of us only do 8 years in office.
Right.
And, I mean, I've gotten to the point where these special interest groups show up, the Native Plant Society, one meeting, and all of a sudden, everything's on hold and we're backstepping because of 5 guys that claim to be the Native Plant Society.
Yeah.
While the rest of us have been working and fighting this thing for 10 years.
There also needs to be on projects, there needs to be some kind of oversight by people in business.
Yes.
If you look at the Forest Initiative in Arizona, the first guy they chose to harvest 300,000 acres was an 82-year-old man who claimed he had a background in woodworking, which he did. In this early 60s, he had a tiny cabinet shop in his garage, which went under. And they gave him that project. He was going to build furniture and ship it to Malaysia, the part of the world that wiped out the furniture industry in the United States with low wages, you know, 35 cents an hour. And his goal was to ship the furniture to Malaysia and sell it there. How are they going to buy furniture made in the United States? And they overlooked a Frenchman who wanted to build a giant particle board plant in Arizona who had funding, etc. They chose the old guy who was going to ship furniture to Malaysia. And the Forfa has done nothing but stub a toe And I have caught some criticism because we're expensive for what we're doing in the Zuni Mountains. We're charging a lot, but we're succeeding. And nobody's getting rich, by the way, but we are succeeding. And so there's a real disconnect between the reality of business
And the
and
Forest Service.
and what people kind of believe is going on. And the government desperately needs just some common sense business
Yeah.
acumen in their overseeing these things when they pick projects, because that was mind-bogglingly dumb, quite frankly.
And Trump just repeated, David, I guess it was yesterday when he spoke, and he said, again, that they will have it down to 2 years,
Yes.
including all, NEPA,
Yes.
everything. And he said they're gonna try to get it down to a year.
There's no reason it shouldn't be.
It should be. So that's, I mean, that's coming from the highest levels, and they're replacing people who are not doing the work. I'm just telling you,
So when you transition from the federal government to the state government, our holdup is when it goes from the Forest Service to SHPO, the State Historic Preservation. And there's only 2 folks allegedly out there that may work 5 hours a week. I don't really know what the truth is. But then it gets bottlenecked because they say they have so many
So
things
many
to take care of
requests.
in the SHPO office. So that is also another, or the cultural.
I will make special note of that.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, that's just, it's
I
ridiculous.
think we can find business people that also want to historically preserve.
Yeah, within reason, it's good.
Within reason.
Yes, within reason. That's what I said, a business guy who
Yes.
understands the
Within
balance
reason.
needed.
And as far as your infrastructure for President Trump, we're ready.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of shovel-ready projects, okay?
So what are some of the projects?
We got one around the high school, we've got Second Street, we've got First Street. I mean, these are all shovel-ready, everything has been done except the money needing to get to us to start to go to work. We got a flood project that will be ready down around Futures, hopefully, in the next year or so. But we've got one around the high school right now, and that should end our flooding problems in our town when we get those 2 done.
Okay.
But we've got all kinds of road projects, and we've got another bridge in the works where we're getting the money to do that one now. And as soon as we've got money to start design, we will do that one. That's up on Roosevelt Avenue.
Okay.
But the city of Grants, we're ready to roll whenever
Okay.
they got the money.
We will,
And we got the money to match them too.
okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that was one of the big deals. They're looking for matching money. They're also looking for private money to match in projects too. So don't know if, what the layout of that looks. They said they really haven't finished the full plans on how that would move forward, but they want to take the 200 billion or 100 billion a year and leverage it into 500 billion a
On
year.
one of our flood projects, we've got private, but not money, it's a land donation to help us fix the flooding around Mason View School and
Okay.
the Future Foundations Family Center, where we have about 100 kids at least, right? Go there almost every single day. At least 100 kids go to Futures every day after school and during the summer. And
I'll run that down.
The Pines family is going to give us, we're going to exchange a deal back there for property back there to do this
Okay.
flood control deal around Futures in the school there.
I suspect they'll be looking for a pilot project or 2 on this private money, so I'll shop that to them
You
and
betcha.
say, hey,
If they'll do
why don't we
a
come out here and we work out the
land exchange,
Yeah,
because that's, I mean, that's money, it's just a different form of it.
yeah. Y'all got questions for me? I mean, I'm all excited because just seeing the economy boom after that tax cut, we felt like it would do it, but I mean, the chips got really all on one side of the table. We didn't get one vote from the other side, and they were cranking their members. A lot of members wanted to vote for it. A lot of the Democrats wanted to vote for it. They wouldn't let them, and so
Well, that's one of the problems that we have in our state is our Washington representation, representing California and New York and not
Yeah.
representing New Mexico.
Yeah, we're totally committed to doing what we can. And in all these rural areas, I'm finding a lot of potential. Just we haven't had the vision and leadership to make it happen. And so we're just over in Cuesta. You set that meeting up for us. And I was just amazed at the potential they have up there. So I think that if we begin to do what we can in rural areas in New Mexico, not only do we push jobs out here, we also start fixing the state budget because we put people back to work in all parts of the state. And I will just tell you that, the people wonder, right now, we have a bigger problem finding people than jobs. And so one of the things that we're gonna do is we'll absolutely have a work requirement. If you're able-bodied without kids on Medicaid, you're gonna go to work. I mean, it's just that simple. We're just not gonna continue to pay people more to stay home than we do to work. And we blame the poor. It's not the poor's fault. They're making a rational choice. I can make this much not working, or I can make this much working. If we'd reverse it, they would go to work because they would choose to make the more money. They're choosing what we're encouraging them to do. And so quit blaming the poor. Let's help them get on their feet. We'll give them training, whatever. And so that to me is where we're gonna really start taking care of our nation, our state's people.
Hand up instead of a handout.
Yeah, just do it. We'll have apprenticeship programs in every school district, absolutely. And I've already found the businesses who will run most of them. So we don't have to worry about more appropriation. Everybody in the state, they wring their hands and say, well, how can you do it? I said, businesses will do it for us. That one, turnover is the most expensive thing you can have in a business. And that one company in Carlsbad last year hired 376 people. You know how many they kept out of 376?
30? 3?
4. The 30 are a little bit high, but that's the cost of turnover. So if they can come in and start training kids, have them work as interns, they said, yes, we'd set up an apprenticeship program.
It's just like we're looking at now, and there's a deal going on in Albuquerque where they want every single kid to apply to college. Not every kid wants to go to college,
They
is
don't wanna go.
qualified to go to college.
Yeah.
And I've got the perfect example. I sent a son to college, and he came home after a year and a half and said, I'm joining the Marine Corps. I've had enough. I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
And he just re-enlisted in the Marine Corps. That's a perfect example.
Can
Not
I-
everybody's made to go to college.
Can I, if we're gonna play with education, and I listen to all that, the thing I see most lacking in my employees is an understanding of how to handle money,
Math.
buying, not just math, but buying things on credit, the risk of buying things on credit, the risk of having bad credit. The poor, once their credit's bad and they go down to Ford and they buy a vehicle and they get 29% interest, they never get ahead.
That's right.
And people don't get that, and these yahoos in Santa Fe are trying to force everybody to apply to a college
That's right.
rather than having classes on basic, how
Checkbook.
to handle your home finances,
handle a
et cetera, to
checkbook.
get ahead in the world.
Yeah, so in some of the school systems, during the last year, they cut out the money management class and forced them into algebra and trigonometry.
Yeah,
I'm telling
see,
you,
and that's
it's
just-
just,
What do you
we're
use
not
more?
teaching kids how to
Yeah,
live.
what do you use
Yeah.
more?
And we're not giving them the basic skills, and so that's gonna turn itself around
People
too.
that get ahead in the long run, people that get ahead usually have really good credit.
Yeah.
And that's a big secret.
This is Victoria, our local reporter.
Yes,
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, I'm from here. I went through K through 12 public school system here. And one of the things that I think really surprised me that I noticed is back when I was in 7th and 8th grade, we had, I guess it was like a basic computer class. We learned how to type, but we also learned like how to use basic applications like Office, Word, Excel. They don't have that anymore. Instead, they have some sort of integrated computer class that teaches kids how to do math and weird computer-like games. But to me, that seems so counterintuitive because what kids need more now is how to use basic things like that than to play games.
That's right.
So, I mean, with that, how about, just teaching our kids some basic real-world things that they know how to, are going to be able to use in an office setting when they graduate, how to, troubleshoot a printer for crying
Yeah.
out loud.
yeah.
Mr. Pierce,
When is that class? Because I need to, I always have to call my wife when it's time to troubleshoot the printer.
Or the kids.
Mr. Pierce,
Yeah,
I've been an advocate about vocational education at our colleges, and I've said that for the last 5 to 10 years that I've lived here. Not everybody knows how to run a computer, but how many of you guys know how to run a shovel?
There's not many that know how to do that, all of us older guys do.
learned that real
The younger ones don't have a
What
clue
I'm
how to
saying
run a
is,
shovel.
you know, how to put your foot on that shovel, where to dig, and you know that if you have hard ground, you're gonna have to soak it before you can dig it. So what I'm getting at is, I just retired from my business. I was in the appliance and refrigeration business for 38 years here. And do you think I could find a kid that could come out and even fill out an application for employment?
No, we can't find workers for the jobs. So it's no longer finding jobs for the workers. Our biggest thing nationwide, and especially as we go into this kind of boom and jobs coming back to the US, is finding workers for the jobs, keeping up the jobs.
They don't wanna work.
Yeah.
So we really need to push
The
vocational.
younger ones don't wanna work.
We had a girl who, she went through one of the programs here where they help them get a job, you know, they compensate wages and stuff. We finally had to let her go because she was continually missing work, including one day where she didn't show up because, and we had to call her. It was about half an hour after she was supposed to be there. We called her and she didn't have a ride and she was waiting for her couches to be delivered. So she wasn't gonna be able to make it.
Well, she needed a place to sit down while she's waiting on the ride.
Exactly, but I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, I wanted to say something or to think about it, but I didn't have time because you know what? Oh yeah, I was working.
Yeah, and we can try to adjust all of those behavior things, but really, just requiring work is gonna do it all.
Yeah, you
Get your
know.
butt up and go to work, man.
And we
Done it my whole
also
life.
just believe that a lot of people game the unemployment system. It was not made to be used permanently. People will work a short period of time and then run out and jump back on unemployment. And
It's
I
just
believe
like-
that we can stop that too.
The hamburger
Yes.
jobs.
One of the things that we have a number of problems in our community. For example, there's probably only one mechanic shop in our community that has ASE certified mechanics. We don't have a place for training plumbers or electricians or any of these things that provide a skill so that someone can develop a saleable skill. It's already been said that not everyone needs to go to college.
That's right.
But we are lacking that, and we're not just lacking it in our community, we're lacking that throughout the country. We don't have good welders or people. Several years ago, we had an event here in town, and a youngster was asked to shovel something. He didn't even know how to use the shovel.
Boy, my mom would have had a fun time.
Can I add to that also that, you know, I've got one left in college. I've put 4 boys through college, and my goal for them was that they would graduate debt-free, which we pulled out somehow. But looking back on it, when the first one went through, he's 34 now, cool, fine, degree in business, all right. But if I had children right now, I would send them to a trade school. I would send them anywhere other than where they're going to be brainwashed to liberal doctrine,
University.
which is college. And I wouldn't send a child to college anymore, so you're exactly right. We do need trade schools. And anybody with a half a brain and a little bit of skill and a willingness to work, some work ethic, will do better than these yahoos that are going to college, at least a lot of them.
The apprenticeship programs that I'm visualizing will be in the school districts, not necessarily a part of the school program, so we don't have to have certified teachers, that we have people from industry conducting them under the auspices of the school, but not to where, I mean, because that's the hand wringing that started, well, we have to have a certified plumber to teach. Let's just put an apprenticeship program, let's get a certification. But it would be exactly what you're talking about, the plumbers, truck drivers, electricians. I was in Los Alamos in May of last year, and they said, forget the nuclear scientists. We can't operate because we can't find people to fix the plug-ins in the wall. We cannot find electricians for Los Alamos labs, and so it's just time to do it. Yes, ma'am.
Just, you know, I grew up in the dark ages, and when we graduated from high school, it was expected that we could support ourselves. That was the way that parents trained their children, that they were able to take care of themselves when they graduated from high school. We don't have that any longer. We have youngsters that are going to school with
Families are broken.
smartphones, getting the answers to their tests off of a smartphone rather than developing thinking skills and solving problems.
Yes,
So I think that even a child at 5 years of age can learn to do some chores. We're not doing that in our families any longer. And I think it's our fault as parents and grandparents and great-grandparents that we're not encouraging that with those around us. We just aren't.
yeah. Now, you're hitting right on the really deep problems of the
That's
computer age, is that people just almost quit functioning on all the levels. So there's these gaps that exist, and we need to teach people how to live again.
Well, I've said that people are making billions of dollars developing these programs so that we can stay ignorant.
Well, that's what my daughter is doing at UNM right now. I sent her there to go be a doctor, and she decided she could make more money in computer sciences.
There you go.
And that's what she's doing now. She's doing computer programming.
So, Mr. Pierce, how are you going to be generating new industry into New Mexico? You know, we can talk social issues all day, but
That's
we're
right.
not changing that in the next couple of years. So, I'm not a native of New Mexico. I moved into it. So, when I try to talk to other people nationally, say, why would you want to come to New Mexico? Okay, why do people want to come here? Our education, our youth are not quite educated as they should be. We have a lot of land, we have a lot of natural beauty, but we're starving. So, you know, I try to tell them, you know, we have people who want to work. If you have a specialized niche, we're perfect for you because you're going to train your people anyway. So come here where people want to make a difference. So I think that one of the things, Governor Martinez says, New Mexico True and things like that, very much focused on tourism. That's nice, but people need to work, and there's not enough industry based on tourism. So the stopgap with having vocational past high school level for the 20-somethings that are kind of lost, don't know what they do. That vocational training is good. But what's the draw for the bigger companies? Can we get Ford to come in and put a new automobile plant in there? Can we get other large manufacturing? Manufacturing would be good for New Mexico because we can do those specialized niches. The refinery, awesome, because, our mining people, they know heavy equipment for this area. So, we have to kind of take a look and see what can we draw here and how can we draw them.
The answer to me lies in the value-added production of what we already do. So you get Matt, he takes wood and makes something out of it, so the value is added to it. That's the same thing a refinery does. It takes our raw materials, instead of giving them away to Texas, we use it here. And that's not the same as the oil and gas industry. Oil and gas is volatile. Refineries are very, very steady and stable because we're going to continue to drive. And they don't depend on the price of oil. So right now our heavy dependence in the state on oil and gas makes us volatile. It's hard to run schools, hard to do our budgets. So I wouldn't diminish oil and gas, I would simply expand everything else. So the value added then applies to oil and gas, it applies to timber, and we should be cutting our timber, not burning it. We should be harvesting that. The third thing is that we make a lot of copper down in Silver City and then we ship it out of state, again creating those good manufacturing jobs out there somewhere. So I would insist that we find somebody to bring copper manufacturing into the state to do something with it. Then I really think that we're so dependent on other places for our food. I think we're going to see potentially some very difficult times in the near future. And if we're still dependent on other nations for our food, that's the first point of instability, is when you can't feed your family. So I would really like to expand our agriculture production here tremendously. I would like us to be totally self-sufficient in agriculture products. And then the follow-on to that then is the food manufacturing business. And we've got a couple of companies in Albuquerque that are dramatically expanding. And so as we increase the centers of production of food around the state, take the manufacturing out there too, to where your rural areas have at least 2 different levels of jobs. And so that's why they're doing it. But all of that is conditional. It's conditional on understanding that businesses do not want to operate in New Mexico if they have a choice, because New Mexico hates business. And so we've got to change the attitude and the culture in Santa Fe that hates businesses and hates the creation of jobs. And I personally think that I'm okay doing that. That's what I work on in the federal government all the time. We work on attitudes. And so when the Forest Service believes they don't have to answer to you all, we can come and make that happen. We'd be able to do it much more as governor. And so that attitudinal shift, other companies would want to come here, they would want to bring their manufacturers here, but we drive them away. And so the city of Albuquerque asked me, would you spend $50 million to bring new businesses? I said, that'd be ludicrous. Why? You spend $50 million, you get them here, and we run them out the next day. So now you've wasted your $50 million. So that's so you have to think, in my view, you have to think in terms of kind of blue collar kids not going to college jobs, but you also need to be thinking about the kids who are going to college and going to get advanced degrees. And I mean, the most likely thing is a spaceport sitting right here. You can like or dislike the fact that we put a runway out there in the middle of nowhere, but once you put 200 million on the ground, you better do something with it, or you have wasted your 200 million. And so this hand-wringing we've done the last 10 years over should we or shouldn't we, that conversation, once the concrete's down, you should never have it. That's before. And the space race is going to take place. This year, the first private space launch is going to occur probably from here, but there are 5 companies that are basically competing for the private spaceship market. And we only have one of them, and we're going to lose that one if we don't pick our feet up and get moving. So right now, our office in DC is participating in the discussions to get a second one to move here. But we should be all out from New Mexico, because that's going to bring businesses and manufacturing in the high-tech field of space travel here if we will have that. So a lot of things that we can do, we just need to get about it. And finally, we've got somebody that is working to reestablish the rare earth mineral mines that used to string out through this western part of the state. And if we're going to make the rare earth minerals, that's very strategic materials. We should also be manufacturing those in the state. China is the only place they get them now because they closed down our mines, and the Trump administration is definitely open to us opening our mines back up and shutting off China as being the only source, but they're also open to encouraging manufacturers to come back here. So that, I mean, the potential out there is almost unlimited, but number one, we have never paid attention to our potential, but then also we have neglected to change the attitude of the state government, and so we try a lot of things. You know, we spent 9 years bringing Intel here. They brought 6,500 workers here, now they're leaving, going to Arizona because our workers are not of enough quality. I'm just telling you as governor, if we have somebody like Intel leaving 1,000 jobs at a time, I'm going to find one of those community colleges and we're going to redirect them from giving math and science. We're going to train the workers that are needed for that facility, and that's going to be their only function. And if they can't do it, then we'll find somebody else that will do it in their place. So we're just not going to sit here and watch while we attract in tremendous potential high-tech jobs and then lose them because we're not providing the workforce they need. So those are just a few of the...
That's the leadership that New Mexico needs. We need somebody who can look at the broad picture, because sometimes it seems like they get such tunnel vision. But when you have the broader picture, the support jobs will come. You know, the restaurants, the hospitality, the events, things are there. But if you don't have that main draw with the industry in there, we're dead. And so that's one of the things that Grant struggles with, Lamont, Cibola, is that we're trying just to, you know, have somebody have some faith to come to us. You know, we're willing to work.
Yeah.
We just need that
I'll tell you something I would work on right here if I was y'all right now. And any truckers in the room? You got that 8 or 12, I forget exactly what the limit is, but the DOT has put in that new rule. You see all these trucks parked at these truck stops?
Yeah.
They're mandatorily sitting there. Mm-hmm. If I was you all, I would go out here as far to the west as you can. I'd put a station where it's like Pony Express. We're going to provide you the drivers across New Mexico. Your people can sleep. You can go 12 hours down the road, we provide drivers, they go down there and rest, and then they come back and forth. That's what I'd be doing, because you sit in those trucks idling for 12 hours waiting on a driver to get rest. I'm just telling you, there's a high-priced market there to keep that truck rolling. And if you want to do it all across America, fine, but I just want to solve the problem that's here in New Mexico.
One side of the 40 to the other.
Yeah,
That'd
we
be
go from
awesome.
one side of the state back and forth, and you all are perfectly aligned for that. And so again, you got this huge area. Yes.
And Mr. Pierce, I work in the transportation, I work for DOT, and one of the things that I see too is you're talking about bringing in industry in here, and all the models I run on the pavements on the roads, they're deteriorating faster than I could fix them. And if you bring in this industry, I can't get that product to market someplace because the roads are falling apart, then we just lost it.
Yeah, that's again the reason the president's talking about $1 trillion to fix the roads, the bridges, and the other infrastructure. But that's definitely his purpose. And he says, yes, it's going to increase the debt and the deficit, but the long-term payoff is like a tremendous investment, because we'll be able to, our GDP can grow much faster and better with a good road system, a good railroad system. So that was precisely what he talked about 2 days ago when he visited with us.
And I also I've been working with the state patrol. You talked about the trucks hauling the copper out of Silver City. I have truckers that are going back roads every place so they can avoid all of the way stations. And that's a huge, when they're tearing up our roads and they're not paying any taxes for running across the street. And so I think we need to rebuild some of those way stations as well and get them manned.
At this point, I need a cell phone number and need your name again.
I get it.
Yeah, just give me a card, because what I do is this goes in a database, and when it comes time to start solving this problem, guess who's going to get the call? I'm not going to try to figure it out. I just know we got a problem and we got a solution. We got a guy that knows the solution. So here we are.
Well,
And once you get my database, I'm sorry you can't ever get out. That's what happened. Yeah, so it's too late. Thank you. Give me a round of applause, because it's a tattoo.
In my previous job, I was exposed to small business, so we were out of Milan. We compete with the industries that are all on the Permian Basin and the drilling industry, that their offices are in Midland, Odessa. Their workman's comp rates are so much lower in Texas than they are here. So that's how, the only way we're going to attract the business to stay in New Mexico, or say they're based New Mexico based, is to be equitable and fair about workman's comp, because you can never compete against Texas with their workman's comp. So what happens is the company's consumed by a Texas company, and everybody's paid out of Texas, and then
your money goes to Texas at the end of the day.
Yep.
So the guy was telling me the other day, he said, we were on the other side of the state, he said he worked in Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, and he said Colorado is half the workers' comp rate is here. In Texas is half of Colorado.
Exactly.
I graduated from Hobbs, I don't know exactly how much this is anyway, so it's about a quarter of what we are.
Can I bring up another issue that as governor you'll be faced with, frankly? You started your question saying, people come here for whatever reason, but what makes them stay here? And I saw a meme recently that said people come here for the green chili, they stay because their car got stolen. I just spent $40,000 in Albuquerque at our new yard. I've got chain link with razor wire, and I went 24 inches inside it, and I built $40,000 worth of pro panel with razor wire in order to stop theft. And this is a huge problem, and this is something that's got to stay to change. I've got 4 employees with diesel trucks in Albuquerque, and 2 diesel trucks have been stolen. It's brutal, and something's got to change there.
Yeah, the work requirement is going to start changing a lot. The apprenticeship programs, I don't think poverty causes crime. If it had, our family would have been the criminal family of Lee County, because we were at the bottom of the heap. But I do believe that we channel kids there by not giving them purpose. They graduate from high school, they don't know what they're going to do. They try to get a job, they ain't got any skills, so they can't get a job. They drift in the streets, drugs, gangs. When they start taking drugs, the only way to pay for them is to steal your car or break into your house. And so stop channeling there, but also catch these first-time offenders, and let's figure out how to interdict that process toward just all-out crime. But once you start pulling away the people that are fairly easy to catch and to save, now you can focus all your efforts on the people who are just dedicated criminals, and they need to have consequences for their actions, and they don't need to be let out by judges, and even the judges are starting to turn that system around. These are the things that we think take on. One of the, I say that as governor, we'll concentrate on 4 things, and that's number 1, the economy, and we've had the discussion on what we do to broaden and diversify that. Number 2, education. Number 3, poverty. We need to attack poverty right at its core. And then 4, crime. And if we do the first 3, we begin to work on the 4th. We just have to go straight at the cartels. We have to go straight at the cartels are really very present in a lot of New Mexico, and we need to go straight at it. On the poverty, we set it up by taking the jobs out where the deepest poverty is. And we also go and work with people who've lost their confidence. Maybe they've got a drug problem. We start dealing with the mental illness instead of just pushing all the problems aside that help create poverty. Let's begin to address those things, and I think that's eminently doable. The first step, again, is getting the able-bodied people who can work out into the workforce. Now you can concentrate resources to the people that have a drug abuse problem, begin to solve that. I know, I see.
Don't get in a hurry, Matt.
Yeah.
Don't get in a hurry, Matt. Calm down.
Yeah, get after it. I agree with you.